September 2017, San Juan, Puerto Rico, 11 days after Maria. What I'm about to tell you is a composite, built from eyewitness accounts, survivor interviews, and field reports that came out of that disaster. The names are changed, but every detail was documented somewhere in the wreckage of that response. This happened. Maybe not to one man named Raymond, but to enough men like him that it might as well have. 58 years old, diabetic, bad left knee. He'd gotten his family to higher ground, kept them fed, kept them alive for 11 days straight. 11 days of good decisions under the worst possible pressure. On night 12, he fell asleep in the front room. Blood sugar low from rationing. And he snored the way a diesel engine idles. Had his entire life. In 11 days of genuine survival competence, he had never once thought about the fact that his snoring was broadcasting his exact location to anyone within 40 feet. 3 men came through the window he'd barricaded with a single bookshelf. The knee meant he couldn't get up fast. The blood sugar meant his brain was already running slow. He survived. But he lost everything they'd stored. And he lost something harder to replace, the sense that he had any control over what happened next. He wasn't underprepared. He was prepared for the wrong body. I'm Max, and right now, if you spend any time on survival YouTube, you have seen the viral wave of tactical sleep content, tripwires made of fishing line, tin cans with gravel, a jacket rolled under a blanket as a decoy. Sleep in 90-minute cycles, check your perimeter, repeat. Good advice. Solid fundamentals. I'm not here to tell you that stuff is wrong. I'm here to tell you it's incomplete, and that for a specific type of person, the incomplete version is the dangerous version. I took that tactical sleep framework, the one everybody's sharing right now, and I stress tested it against a 50-year-old man with a bad knee, a sleep disorder, and a beta blocker prescription. And about half of it falls apart immediately. Today on Outfox Apocalypse, we're going to run the same playbook, same threats, same solutions, but built for the body that's actually sitting in the chair watching this. Because a system you can't execute isn't a system, it's a plan for someone else. Here is what we are going to cover. We are going to start with the biology. Why skipping sleep in a crisis isn't toughness. It's a self-inflicted brain injury on a delayed timer. Then we're going to talk about the acoustic problem, because your body makes noise while you sleep. And in a silent post-collapse environment, that noise has real consequences. Then we go into the full defensive architecture, position selection, early warning systems, room barricading, the mannequin protocol, and sleep structure. All of it modified for the body you actually have, not the one tactical YouTube thinks you own. When you're done watching this, you will never just lie down. You'll build a position, and that distinction will, at some point, keep you breathing. Let's start with the biology, because this is where most people have it completely backward. There's a myth floating around in prepper culture. I've seen it on forums, I've seen it in comment sections, I've heard it from guys with more tactical patches than brain cells. And the myth goes like this: I can push through. Sleep is a luxury. Real operators go 72 hours. And those guys are partially right and completely wrong at the same time. Yes, you can physically stay awake for 72 hours. Your heart will keep beating. Your legs will keep moving. But after about 24 hours without sleep, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that does risk assessment, that evaluates whether a shadow is a person or a tree, that stops you from making deals with strangers or drinking contaminated water, that part starts degrading at a rate you will not notice. That's the insidious part. The damage is invisible from the inside. You will feel functional. You will feel alert. You will be wrong. Here's the Bartok version. Sleep deprivation doesn't feel like being drunk. It feels like being confident. Your brain loses its fact checker before it loses its engine. You make decisions with the certainty of a surgeon and the judgment of a man who hasn't slept in 2 days. After 48 hours, you start experiencing microsleeps, involuntary 3 to 5 second blackouts, where your brain forces a reboot whether you want it to or not. And after 72 hours, some people begin hallucinating. Not mild stuff, full visual and auditory hallucinations in broad daylight. You cannot shoot what you cannot accurately see. You cannot navigate what you cannot accurately read. Sleep deprivation isn't a badge of honor. It's a self-inflicted traumatic brain injury on a delayed timer. And this is worse, significantly worse, if you have chronic health conditions. Sleep deprivation compounds everything. Your knee hurts more. Your blood sugar is harder to manage. Your blood pressure is less stable. The inflammatory conditions that a lot of men in this demographic are managing get worse without sleep. For Raymond, sleep wasn't just a tactical requirement, it was a medical requirement. So the first principle is this: sleep is not optional. It is not a reward for finishing your tasks. It is a tactical and biological requirement with the same priority as water. Treat it accordingly. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The reason sleep is so terrifying in a collapse scenario isn't just because you're unconscious. It's because unconsciousness is total. When you are in deep sleep, your auditory threshold, the volume at which a sound will actually wake you, can be 10 to 15 times higher than when you're awake. Your body temperature drops. Your reaction time, even immediately upon waking, is degraded for approximately 90 seconds to 3 minutes. There's a term for this: sleep inertia. And during those 90 seconds, you are running on a brain that is chemically and electrically transitioning out of sleep. You are slow. You are confused. You may not know where you are. Now add a beta blocker to that picture. A lot of men in this demographic are on blood pressure medication, and many of those medications suppress the adrenaline response that would normally jolt you out of sleep when a stressor occurs. They work by blunting your sympathetic nervous system's reactions. In normal life, that's exactly what you want. In a survival scenario where you need to wake up fast and move on threat cues, it means your body's biological alarm system is running at reduced gain. You will wake up slower. The sleep inertia will be longer and deeper than it would be for someone not on these medications. 90 seconds of fog can become 2.5 minutes. And in a grid-down, post-collapse environment, that time gap is not nothing. So the tactical problem is this: you need sleep because without it, you die slowly from the inside. But sleep itself creates a window of catastrophic physical vulnerability that is longer and deeper for your body than for a healthy 28-year-old. How do you solve that? You don't eliminate the vulnerability. You architect around it. You build a system that does your watching for you while your brain performs its mandatory maintenance cycle. The framework has 4 layers: position, where you sleep; early warning, what detects a threat before it reaches you; sleep structure, how you organize the sleep itself to minimize your exposure window; and the room, what you do to the physical space to buy those critical seconds. 4 layers, none of them complicated, all of them requiring thought before you lie down. Let's start with the acoustic problem, because this is the layer that almost nobody addresses, and it gets dramatically worse with age. Your sleeping body makes noise. The amount and type of that noise is a function of your physiology. And if you are a man past the age of 45, your physiology has probably become louder in ways you're not fully accounting for. The average decibel level of moderate snoring is around 50 to 60 decibels. That's a normal conversation. A loud snorer hits 70 to 90 decibels. That's a lawnmower. In a quiet post-collapse environment, where ambient noise has dropped because there are no cars, no HVAC systems, no appliances, no city hum, that snoring carries. In still night air, a loud snorer can be heard from 70, 80, 100 feet away. You are not a hidden position. You are a beacon. Sleep apnea makes this worse in a specific and insidious way. The classic apnea event, the pause in breathing followed by the gasping snort, is not just loud. It is irregular, and irregular, unexpected sounds in a quiet environment are exactly what the human threat detection system is calibrated to notice. A steady snore at least becomes part of the ambient background after a few minutes. Your brain files it under normal. Apnea events are acoustic anomalies. They punch through whatever noise floor exists, unpredictably, at random intervals. If you have sleep apnea and you are sleeping in a space where other people, including dangerous ones, might be within earshot, your own body is doing their surveillance for them. I want to be clear about why I'm spending time on this specifically. My brother dealt with apnea for 6 years. 6 years of miracle nose clips, nasal expanders, mouth guards, every piece of plastic garbage the internet told him would fix it. 3 surgeries. Only after the third one did he actually sleep through the night. In peacetime, in his own house, with no threats within 100 miles. So when I tell you that apnea is a liability you need to account for in a collapse scenario, I'm not reading off a medical chart. I watched what that condition does to a person up close for years. If you have it, you already know, and your plan needs to know it too. Now, here is the reframe that nobody has told you. You cannot eliminate the noise. You cannot will yourself into silent sleep. What you can do is use the noise as a tool instead of fighting it as a liability. Your snoring fills a room. In darkness, a person's directional hearing inside a small enclosed space is imprecise, especially when they are also moving and their own footsteps are masking the directionality of the sound. They will move toward the most visually obvious signal. If you have correctly set up your decoy, your false sleeping position, they will move toward that while the sound continues to reverberate around them. Your snoring, the thing your wife has been complaining about for 20 years, is now keeping their attention on the wrong location while you are fully conscious in a corner behind the dresser. That is not a joke. That is physics. Your liability just became an asset, but only if the geometry is right, and we'll get to the exact geometry in a moment. First, the companion problem. What about complete silence as a strategy? You are told that silence is your friend. The quieter the environment, the more you'll hear. And that is partially true. But for a man with sleep-disordered breathing, complete silence is a double-edged knife. In complete silence, every apnea event sounds like a gunshot. Every cough and chronic respiratory conditions become more frequent under stress, cold, and inadequate nutrition. Every cough is a position reveal that carries half a block. Your body's acoustic emissions have no competition. They are the only signal in the environment. The solution is a stable, low-frequency ambient noise floor. Not loud, not music, not anything with a pattern a human brain will start tracking and then notice when it stops. The sound of wind through a half-open window. Water dripping or trickling if you can arrange it. A piece of loose plastic sheeting moving in a draft. Something that fills the frequency range where snoring and coughing and sleep sounds exist, without being loud enough to mask a footfall or a moving piece of furniture. You are not hiding in noise. You are creating a noise environment where your involuntary sounds blend into a baseline rather than standing alone in silence like a signal flare. And there is a second thing that stable ambient sound does for you. Your auditory system, even in sleep, is extraordinarily good at detecting anomalies against a stable background. It evolved to do exactly this. What it is bad at is detecting specific sounds against silence, because silence makes everything equally loud, which means your brain has to evaluate every tiny sound as a potential threat, which means you sleep badly and wake up exhausted. A consistent background gives your brain a reference point. Deviations from that reference are what wake you. You are calibrating your own alarm system. Now, position selection. Most people, when they're exhausted and the adrenaline finally wears off, will walk into the most comfortable looking space and collapse. The couch, the bed, the first horizontal surface they find. This is your body's survival instinct actively working against your survival. Comfort and security in a collapse environment are almost never the same thing. What you are looking for, internalize this phrase, is not comfort. It is defensive geometry. You want a sleeping position with limited, predictable entry vectors, natural concealment, and at least one viable exit that is not the same as your entry. Anyone coming at you has to funnel through a limited space. You are not obviously visible from that entry point, and you have somewhere to go that isn't back through the threat. Now, here is the modification for the body that can't sleep on a concrete floor without spasming. The standard tactical advice sometimes implies that the most defensively superior geometric position is the right answer regardless of ergonomics. It is not. A position you cannot occupy without generating pain-induced mobility loss is a bad position. Pain reduces cognitive function. Pain slows movement. Pain introduces involuntary vocalizations, the grunt when you stand up, the sharp exhale when the knee takes weight. That are exactly the kind of irregular sounds that a threat will notice. The best defensive position you cannot occupy without consequences is worse than a slightly less optimal position you can actually use. A firm surface at some elevation, even a mattress pulled off a bed frame and placed in a corner behind the bed, is defensively superior to the bed itself in the obvious location. And it is infinitely better than the floor if the floor means you start your alert window with a spasming lower back. A sleeping pad, even a cheap closed-cell foam pad, costs next to nothing and completely changes the equation for someone with back problems. 3/4-inch foam between you and a hardwood floor is the difference between waking up functional and waking up in enough pain to be effectively disabled for the first 2 minutes of your response window. Ergonomics in a survival context is not a luxury. For the body with chronic conditions, it is a tactical variable. In a suburban or urban environment, middle floors of multi-story buildings are statistically superior to ground floors for obvious reasons, and superior to top floors for less obvious ones. Ground floor means any motivated person can breach a window with their elbow. Top floor means you have nowhere to go but down, and if the stairwell is compromised, you are a very uncomfortable gargoyle on the roof. Middle floors create friction. Every floor a threat has to climb is noise. Every staircase is a choke point where any attacker is briefly silhouetted, audible, and moving through a constrained space. Friction buys you seconds. Seconds are oxygen. In the field, rural, camping, genuinely out of urban infrastructure, you want natural barriers on at least two sides, limited approach angles, and a position that breaks your silhouette from any reasonable observation angle. The inside of a rock formation, a dense thicket where entry is exactly one person wide, a depression in terrain that makes you invisible from higher ground. You are not trying to be comfortable, you are trying to be invisible and geometrically annoying to approach. Here's the step that the tactical crowd always skips, because it requires patience instead of gear. Test your position before you sleep in it. Walk away 50 yards and approach it as if you don't know where it is. Can you see it? Can you approach it quietly? If yes, it is a bad position. This is not optional. Now, early warning, and here's where the mobility-limited body requires a specific modification. The overcomplication crowd wants tripwire grenades and motion-activated IR sensors, and a whole electronic shelf of gear. I get it. Gear is satisfying. But electronics require batteries that die, components that fail in rain and cold, and systems you cannot repair in the field. What you want is a mechanical early warning system. Simple, loud, and redundant. Now, the standard advice here is tin cans with gravel on a fishing line. You've heard it. It works, in theory. The thing nobody mentions is that loud enough to wake you is not a fixed number. It depends entirely on who's sleeping. If you're on a beta blocker, your sympathetic nervous system is running at reduced gain. That quiet rattle at 3 a.m. that wakes a 28-year-old soldier will not wake you. You need the system louder, not slightly louder, meaningfully louder. More cans, heavier gravel, shorter line, so the pull is sharper. You are compensating mechanically for what your medication is suppressing biologically. The physics principle, you are creating a series of physical tripwires that, when disturbed, generate noise substantially louder than a person trying to move quietly. Monofilament fishing lines stretched across likely approach paths at ankle height, approximately 8 to 10 inches off the ground, attached to any container that will rattle when disturbed. Empty aluminum cans with a handful of gravel inside. Plastic bottles with small rocks. Doesn't matter. What matters is that the sound is sharp, irregular, and above your ambient noise floor. Build multiple rings. The outer ring at 30 to 40 feet gives you maximum warning time. The inner ring at 10 feet is your backup. Both rings need to work independently. Both rings need to be tested. You physically walk through them to confirm the noise actually penetrates sleep. If you can step through your own tripwire without waking yourself up, you have a decoration, not a defense. In an urban space, the geometry changes, but the physics doesn't. Dry debris on hard floors, broken glass distributed in a thin layer across a doorway, gravel on a tile floor, functions on the same principle. You are converting a quiet approach into a noisy one. You are not trying to stop someone from entering. You are trying to buy yourself 8 to 12 seconds. That is all you need. Now, the perimeter check. And this is where the gap between standard tactical advice and the mobility-limited body becomes a canyon. The standard tactical protocol says, get up, walk your perimeter, verify your tripwires, then go back down every 90 minutes. Clean and simple. And if you are a healthy man in your 20s with functional joints and no medications in your system, that works. If you are a man past 50 with a knee that pops when you take weight after lying still for 4 hours, you getting up and navigating a dark room full of your own tripwires is not a perimeter check. That is the threat. You are the noise event. So we are changing the protocol entirely. Here is the modified protocol. When you come up out of your first sleep block, you sit upright in place. You do not move. You spend 60 seconds doing nothing but listening, actively, intentionally, the way a hunter listens, to the ambient sound environment. What has changed? Is the ambient noise floor the same? Are the birds and insects producing the same sounds they were, or has something caused them to go quiet? Is there any sound that didn't exist before? Then, if the environment sounds clear, you do a visual sweep with low-intensity light from your fixed position. A low-power flashlight at floor level reveals silhouettes. You are looking for shadows that weren't there. You are looking at entry points from a stationary position. This is 90% as effective as a physical perimeter walk and produces 10% of the noise. Which brings me to the environmental alarm system that costs you absolutely nothing and requires no batteries. If you are in any outdoor or semi-rural position, birds and insects are free surveillance. There is a well-documented phenomenon. Any naturalist knows it. Any infantry veteran who spent time in jungle terrain knows it, where birds, frogs, and insects will abruptly and completely silence when a large mammal enters their territory. The technical term is the predator silence. It's an alarm system that has been operational for 40 million years, costs you nothing, and cannot be hacked. A dawn chorus that suddenly stops is not nothing. That is information. That is a signal that something in the neighborhood just changed. Training yourself to use this, to recognize the difference between the organic ebb of normal nighttime sound and the total silence that follows an intrusion, takes time. But you start developing this sensitivity the moment you start paying attention to it. Let me pause here and pull this together, because we've covered significant ground. We established that sleep deprivation is a slow-motion catastrophic system failure, and worse for bodies managing chronic conditions where the downstream effects compound. We talked about the acoustic vulnerability, snoring, apnea, chronic cough, and explained how to use your body's noise signature as a misdirection tool by setting up the decoy correctly. We covered ambient sound as a tool that masks your involuntary sounds while preserving anomaly detection. We addressed position selection modified for real bodies, defensive geometry balanced with ergonomics, because a position that leaves you in pain is a bad tactical position. And we covered early warning systems and the stationary monitoring protocol that achieves the same result as a physical perimeter walk without the noise and the mobility cost. Now let's go into the Decoy Protocol, the room barricade, and sleep architecture. These are the pieces that complete the system. The decoy. Before you go to sleep, you are going to create a convincing suggestion that you are sleeping somewhere you are not. If there's a bed in the room, you are going to put something under the covers, a rolled jacket, a backpack stuffed with clothing, anything that creates a human-shaped lump at sleeping height. Leave the obvious comfort indicators where an intruder would expect to find them: a flashlight, a boot, a water bottle, the visual vocabulary of someone sleeping. Then you are going to sleep somewhere else. Behind the bed. In a corner with furniture between you and the door. Under a table if the table is solid. Inside a closet with the door cracked 2 inches. Here's why this works at a neurological level. An intruder entering a space you've occupied is operating on an execution script. They have a plan. The plan involves a location, probably the most obvious location. When they move to that location and find only a jacket, their script breaks. They pause. They're confused. They make noise because confused people move less carefully. That pause, that 4 to 8 seconds of cognitive recalibration on their end, is your window. You are already awake because your tripwire's fired. You are already oriented because you slept in a corner with a clear sight line to the entry point. And they are standing in the open, looking at a pile of clothes, wondering what just happened. That's not luck. That's architecture. And when you snore, the decoy becomes even more effective. Your snoring fills the room and keeps their attention on the obvious position while they work through their confusion. They are listening to you, they think, over there, and you are over here, physics working in your favor. The barricade. After position selection, after early warning, you still need to address the room itself. Even if someone triggers every tripwire you set, and you are fully awake and oriented, if they can physically reach you in 3 seconds, your early warning system was decorative. The door is the primary problem. Most people address it with a lock, which is meaningless if the door frame is wood. A solid kick will breach most residential door frames in under 3 seconds, or with nothing at all. What you want is not security. What you want is friction and noise. Stack something heavy against the door that cannot be pushed quietly. A dresser, stacked chairs, anything with mass that when moved makes a significant and sustained noise. This is not designed to keep someone out indefinitely. It is designed to convert a fast, silent entry into a slow, loud one. A wedge under the door is worth 10 times its weight. A simple wooden wedge, driven tight under an inward opening door, transfers force downward into the floor rather than into the frame. The friction coefficient between a wooden wedge and a hard floor is high enough to resist most non-destructive entry attempts. A rubber doorstop costs about $3. That's your first line. Inside the room, between the door and your sleeping position, create an obstacle field. Overturned chairs. Anything that a person moving quickly through a dark room will stumble on, trip over, or knock aside. Every obstacle slows entry. Every collision is another noise event. Every noise event is more time. Time is the only currency that matters in those 90 seconds between entry and your ability to function. And the man with the bad knee who cannot sprint needs to buy more of that time than the healthy 28-year-old. So buy it with furniture. Now, sleep architecture for the real body. Your normal civilian sleep cycle, one uninterrupted block of 7 to 8 hours, creates what I call a soft exposure window. If anything goes wrong in those 8 hours, you have had no opportunity to verify your perimeter, adjust your early warning systems, or confirm that the world outside your position hasn't changed. The solution is segmented sleep, not polyphasic sleep. That's a tortured schedule designed for long-haul sailors and military special operations, and it has a steep adaptation cost you don't want to pay in the middle of a crisis. What you want is a simple two-phase structure, 3 to 4 hours down, then a deliberate alert window of 30 to 45 minutes, then 3 to 4 more hours down. That structure is achievable for most people. It is manageable, and it is substantially safer than 8 uninterrupted hours of total unconsciousness. During your alert window, you are not leisurely checking your phone. You are performing a deliberate listening check from your fixed position, the stationary monitoring protocol. You are verifying that your tripwires look intact. You are listening to the ambient sound environment for anything that has changed. And for the body managing chronic health conditions, this window is also a maintenance interval. Check your blood sugar if you have supplies. Adjust your position to address whatever is hurting. Change your sleeping position to reset your airway if you have apnea. This window isn't just a tactical perimeter check. It's a scheduled maintenance stop for your biological system. There is actual science behind why this two-phase structure works rather than fighting your physiology. Your sleep architecture naturally has a lighter phase around the 4 to 5 hour mark. There is a biological tendency toward a brief arousal in this window that researchers believe may be vestigial, a holdover from when humans slept in 2 phases, separated by a period of quiet wakefulness. You are not fighting your body here. You are working with a mechanism that already exists. In extreme conditions, known hostile activity nearby, elevated threat assessment, you shorten the blocks to 90 minutes. This is harder. It requires discipline. But it eliminates the extended uninterrupted vulnerability window. Now, and this is the piece I want every man in this demographic to hear, account for your medications and your biology. If you are on a beta blocker or any medication that blunts your sympathetic response, your early warning system needs to be louder to compensate. Your biological alarm is running at reduced gain. Your mechanical alarm needs to run at higher gain. Make the cans louder, use more rings, and build a deliberate re-engagement protocol into your first 90 seconds of consciousness. A ritualized sequence of actions that tells your brain it's time to shift into operational mode before your body catches up. 2 small sips of water. A mental inventory of entry points, door, window, entry vectors. Count them, name them. The act of running through a checklist accelerates the re-engagement of your prefrontal cortex out of sleep inertia. Athletes call this a pre-performance routine. You are using the same principle every single time you wake up. And now, the thing I believe is the most undervalued advantage in the entire framework, the home field advantage. You know your house. You have lived in it for years. You know exactly which floorboard creaks and where, not because you studied it, but because your body has learned it through years of navigating that floor, in the dark, half asleep, on the way to the bathroom at 3 a.m. You know that the third step on the stairs sounds like a gunshot. You know that the back door doesn't latch properly, unless you lift the handle slightly. You know the sound that specific window makes in a northeast wind. An intruder does not know any of this. They are operating in an unfamiliar environment in darkness. You are operating in a familiar environment in darkness, which for all practical purposes means you are not operating in darkness at all. This is not a metaphor. This is a genuine operational advantage that compounds everything else we have talked about. Your early warning tripwires are supplementing a house that is already full of passive alarm systems you've been unconsciously cataloging for years. The specific sound of your front door moving at 3 a.m. means something specific to you. Your brain, even partially asleep, is pattern matching against a library of known house sounds that no intruder has access to. The tactical implication: sleep in the position in your house where your passive acoustic library works best, where you can hear the most entry points, where the approach to your sleeping position requires an intruder to cross the most acoustically distinctive terrain you know. This is a calculation only you can make, because only you have the library. But it is a real calculation, and it is worth making deliberately before the night comes when you need it to work. If you want to keep your family safe when the system fails, when the plan has to work for the body you actually have, not the fictional one that tactical YouTube seems to think you own, subscribe to this channel. I analyze what everyone else glosses over. Bottom line, 5 things. Your body, your plan. First, position selection based on defensive geometry and ergonomics both. The best defensive position you cannot occupy without pain is a bad defensive position. Find the position that balances limited entry vectors and concealment with your physical reality, and factor in what you already know about your home's passive acoustic landscape. Second, use your noise signature. Don't fight it. Set up your decoy in the obvious location. Sleep in the non-obvious location. Your snoring fills the room and directs threats toward the pile of clothes. Your chronic cough needs a suppressant in your kit and a cloth to muffle direction. Your body's acoustic emissions are working for you, if the geometry is right. Third, build your early warning for stationary monitoring, not physical patrol. Multiple mechanical tripwire rings, tested and loud, combined with a stable ambient noise floor. Your perimeter check is a 60-second listening protocol from a fixed position, not a walk through your own tripwires in the dark. Fourth, 3 to 4 hours down, a maintenance window, 3 to 4 hours down. During the maintenance window, you check the environment by listening. You manage your physical conditions, and you confirm your exit path is still clear. This window is not wasted time. It is your watch shift and your maintenance interval simultaneously. Fifth, account for your medications. If your sympathetic response is pharmacologically suppressed, your mechanical early warning needs to be louder to compensate. Build a wake-up protocol, water, mental inventory, entry point count, that forces your brain into operational mode before your body has finished its transition out of sleep inertia. One final point before I let you go. Nobody in the survival industry will put this in a headline because it doesn't move product. There is no gear that fixes a bad position. There is no knife, no sleeping bag, no gadget that compensates for lying down in the wrong place without any early warning and sleeping for 8 uninterrupted hours. And there is no tactical framework that compensates for ignoring the specific biology of the body executing it. Raymond survived the storm. He didn't survive the night, not because he lacked courage or competence, but because his plan didn't account for his knee, his blood sugar, or his snoring. Don't be Raymond. Everything I've described tonight is general information built on documented principles. Your specific health conditions, your specific medications, your specific environment, those require your own assessment. Talk to your doctor about how your medications affect alertness and reaction time. Know your own body. The principles don't change. The application is always personal. Stay safe.